Going live, buddy. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another Tuesday night chat with the Muskrat and Mr. Creole catfishing. And tonight we got a special treat for you. We are joined by Mr. Doc Lange, who is trying to put the dog, get the dog taken care of.
Hey, come.
Ain't that right, buddy? Hey, welcome in, buddy. It's always a treat having you join us. And
thank you. I appreciate the invite.
Oh, anytime, man. You got an open invitation.
Yes.
And I asked Doc what he wanted to talk about tonight, and he wanted to talk about cold water tactics. And
cold water catfishing. I know that's
topic.
Crazy from coming from a guy in Alabama, but right now our water temperatures here are running right around 53, 54 degrees.
Wow.
Which is a little, up north, that's not considered cold.
Right.
What is it on the Ohio right now?
43.
What is it down on your way?
It is 46 in the Mississippi and 49 in the Atchafalaya.
Yeah. So see, we're much warmer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Much
I
warmer.
got that cold river water coming down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hey, before we get rock and rolling too far, I'm going to take a second to say hello to some folks that are tuned in with us and that tune in with us most Tuesday nights. And we want to say thank you guys and appreciate you. I seen Sampy in the house there early on. A couple of the comments disappeared on me. I see Mr. Tommy Long Minnow Dunkers. He's been on the crappie last couple of weeks. He keeps sending me pictures. I'm about to just go tie myself to him on a weekend and catch some crappie.
Yeah, no kidding.
Got Don R's in the house. Pontoon Jody, Crappie Day, Fish On. What's going on, buddy? We got Rich over Operations Best with Nets. Welcome in, buddy. John Boy's in the house. Lance McCoo guy. What's going on, brother? We got Kevin Waters, channel member. Thank you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. See, Mike Greenwell's in the house. Paul Edmiston. What's going on? Sean Abney, Mike Irvin, Jerry Parker, $1 Million Man himself. We got Jeff Duvall's in the house.
The Sturgeon Man now.
Sturgeon Man, that's right. Yeah, 70-pound sturgeon.
Right.
I got our good friend Big Fox in the house, tuned in as well. Dale Hayslip. We got Trey Stroop in the house. What's up, Trey? Let's see. I had to restart all my crap here, so I lost some stuff. So I got somebody else from Facebook land, but I can't see who it is yet. I got to reopen everything.
I see that one.
Stonefly 71. The boss is here.
Give me hi. Yep, my boss is here. Look out.
Fishing for Whiskers, what's going on? Welcome. We got Becca Mudtramp. Becca, thanks for tuning in. Welcome in. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Welcome in. Welcome back. Been popping in a lot of different shows now. Paying attention. Greg Burgess, Harold Bolton, another channel member. Now my boss is here. Dad. I'm not looking for much of a fight.
Poor thing, she is nursing a sinus infection right now. So I don't think she's gonna be trolling me too much tonight.
Yeah. We got War Pig in the house, another local guy, along with Brandon Enix, Catfishing Dreams. Welcome in, fellas. Fishing with the Squirrel. What's up, buddy? How have you been? And Mary's in Mama's in the house. Yeah. I was reading her message faster than I can talk. It says, Mama, the boss is here. Merry Christmas to all. So thank you, Mama. I love it when my folks tune in. Hulk Fishing's in the house. Small Water Charters, Wabash Nate, River Rat 3030, Fishing with Jeff Beal. Woo! I'm trying to get it.
You're rolling in now.
Rolling in. All right. I'm gonna try to get another window open here so I can see a couple of these Facebook guys because we got somebody saying hello, Doc from Facebook. Let's see if I can get that pulled up for us real quick. I don't know what happened to our internet here. I ended up having to I'm streaming off my phone right now. I don't know.
And my computer decided to update 10 minutes for the show. So don't feel bad. Same thing. Always happens. What's going on, Miss Janet? Nice to have you in the house.
How it goes, ain't it?
Nubby's catfishing. What's happening? See Dale Hayslip, Greg Burgess. Oh, there's Dad. There's the other Dad in the house. Okay, Dad. Oh, so Dad said he's going to be trolling me tonight instead of Laura. He's going to take her position. So I can't get away from it either way. What's going on, Dad?
Here we go. I didn't expect questions to wait too long to come in. So my question is, say 40 feet, how much does the water temperature change throughout the season? When we jumped cliffs after 10 or 15 feet, the water was cold in the summer. That's a great question.
It is.
Yeah. And I mean, all the years that I fished the Ohio River during the winter time, you know, a lot of times it may sound kind of dumb, but one of the things that I do is I carry a infrared temp unit on board the boat, and usually about the first fish I'll catch, I'll shoot them just to see what their outside body temperature is when I bring them up. That way, kind of, you know, because if you can't put a thermometer down in the water, so why not use a fish? You know, the temperature range is not going to change that much.
That's
I've noticed here in Alabama when I do it that, you know, you're looking for those warm spots. That's what you're looking for. Bait's going to move to those warm spots. Then the fish are going to move in on the bait. So just something that you kind of need to, you know, take a look at.
So with your experience,
go ahead.
I was going to say, how much of a difference between surface temperature and bottom temperature?
Probably here in Alabama, it's probably, if the surface temperature is around 60, we're probably looking at maybe a 10-degree difference. But then when it turns cold, like it is right now, and you know, the water temperature on top is like 50 degrees, the water temperature on the bottom is going to be like 50 degrees. You know, it just kind of, you know, once the heat gets out of it, it just kind of all mellows out from top to bottom. You know, so the only difference being when you go into shallow water. And if you go into shallow water, then you can see a big difference, especially, you know, because we've got the bluffs here in Alabama, and when the sun hits those, that really heats up the you know, it just goes right down the bluff, and the bluffs go into the water, and usually along those bluffs, that's where the water is the warmest, and that's where you'll, using your depth finder and side scan, you'll see a lot more bait working in those areas. It can be kind of tricky trying to catch those fish like that, but you know, you just kind of, I use all different kinds of methods. You know, I can suspend. I like, you know, BCAP Boards is one of my major sponsors, and he's got specialized boards. He's got specialized bobbers that I use, and some of the stuff I've just made suggestions. Hey, can you give me this? And
Brian's in here tonight watching. He was one of the ones that tuned in from Facebook land, and I can tell you that that we used some of those BCAP boards. Well, actually, one trip Zach and I borrowed a couple boards off of Doc because we didn't bring enough, and then of course fishing with Doc, we've used them. And I'll tell you, I really like the bigger profile. These things, do they need to be that big to hold a bait? No, but what what they will do though is they make it so easy to see them out there.
And I just had Brian build me a new set of boards, and I wanted them bright pink because they're you know, those things are hard to see, but with the pink. But when the water is clear here in Alabama and you get the boards out to the side, you get a blue board on there or even a green board, and it blends right in with the water. So, and they're hard to see. And I drag, but in the wintertime, if I've got current, I'm anchored. But then again, I'll use my boards. You know, I'll throw baits out to the side. I don't, you know, if you're in current, all your lines will start kind of coming together. So I'll use those boards to keep those lines out there. And I've done that for years. I did it with church boards probably 30, 40 years ago. So.
Yep. In fact, it was you that mentioned it. I think maybe last time we had you on the show about doing that with boards on anchor. And after that, I started doing it. When the current's slow enough that I can use them. And it's so nice.
Yeah, and that's what's nice about his boards is you can hang 20 ounces off of it, and it won't tip that board.
Wow.
And you can change the location and stuff, and very versatile board. I'm real happy with them.
If you get a fish, take that board under. It's a good fish.
It's a good fish. Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things I like because, when you're, in my opinion, when the line's going all the way out to the side and then all the way back, like if you have a clip that disengages, right?
No,
fish,
I switched
to locking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I have too, because I felt that when that line pops out of there for a second, there's slack to go from.
I've lost some fish, and I asked Brian. I said, "Can you give me a different clip? I want one that I can lock in place." And a lot of people say, "Well, I don't like to fight the board and the fish." It doesn't matter. 70 or 80 pound fish. The board isn't going to really come into play. The only time it comes into play is when you get it near the boat and then you go to release the board. And I've got the quick releases in the back of my boards now, which is it's not a snap release. You just slide it on and it's there.
Yeah.
So I should have gotten an example of one of them.
The other issue I have though is say you're fighting a fish and you got it on the board and it's out to the right 50 feet, and all of a sudden that fish decides to run upriver. Well, you're still fighting the board. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that fish could be giving itself slack, and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't even know. Right. So I don't know. I have a hard time. I go back and forth on that one all the time. Zach switched all his boards over to locking clips. And then I did too. I put all the locking clips on my side. And then I just still have I don't like fighting the board, but I don't like losing fish. So,
right.
So it's, Tommy's back in the house, says Trevor has a set that he won at Cabela's King Cat Sandusky last year. And he says hello to everybody again. Jerry wants to know about waterproof. He says strobe light. But I know that you have a rechargeable light that you've switched to.
Yes, and BCAT boards now sells those lights. I mean, it's got the light, the charger, and it's bright green. For years I ran red and green, and I got a lot of. I think Roger, you and I were fishing a tournament or something, and we were driving people crazy because they thought
we were a big boat.
Yeah, because I had red on one side, green on the other side, and everybody stayed away from when we were fishing because they thought there was 3 boats coming towards them.
That's another tip right there.
Yeah. Or a barge.
Keep people away from you.
If you're on the river, that looks like a barge coming.
Oh yeah, it does.
Get out of your way.
So, but those. I've been running those. I don't know, a year and a half now. Brian sent me a set of them, and I tested them out. And what's nice about it, it's got a little charger, USB. You plug it in. But I've run them all night. I've fished 12-hour night tournaments, and I have never been able to. What's nice about it is if you have a big cat hit it and dunk that board under, you can see exactly where he's going because that light is bright enough that even 5-6 feet underwater, it's still showing up. You can see the glow as he's ripping it back behind the boat.
That's got to look cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's
wild.
It's
got to look cool.
It's
wild. Is green still the only color that they've got?
I think so. And I like the green. It's easy to see. Yeah, it's real super bright. I've got reflective tape on the sides of my boards in case I lose one. And but what's nice about the lights that Brian sells is they're real low profile. They're real. The light itself is no bigger than the head of a golf tee. So, and you just take it and take a little bit of a drill bit and just run it down in there with your fingers, bring it up, make it as tight as you can, and just push it down in there, and you're good to go. Fully waterproof and everything. I've never had any issues with them. I'm real happy with them.
Now you talk about dragging, and you say if you got current that you'll anchor up. So will you still drag through the winter time down there? Just slow it way down?
I don't really know. Most of the time, as long as the wind is not blowing up river here, in the wintertime, I almost always go fully. Anchoring, I'm spot locking is what I'm doing. I use the trolling motor because most of the time I'm fishing by myself, and I don't want to be on the front of that boat trying to pull an anchor, that kind of stuff. The only time I've got several different anchors. One of them's real lightweight that I use for skipjacking. And, I can just toss it out there. It's only got about 50-foot rope on it. My main anchor's got 250 foot on it. And when they have the gates wide open and stuff like that, then I'll use that, but not anywhere near the Wheeler Dam or below Wilson Dam. Most of the time I try to just use it in that spot lock.
And I think that's what most of us do that have that capability. I know when I say I anchor fish, I'm going to spot lock that boat unless it physically just won't hold it and I'm forced to throw my anchor.
Right.
Yeah.
So, welcome in, Bugman and Freddie and Kelly.
Kelly?
Yeah, it's the same for us. Unless we're in some really stiff current and we don't want to sit there and drain the battery. We'll throw an anchor, but that's two of us. Zach and I have done it so much together. We have a very simple process, dropping the anchor, letting the boat come back, and he puts it in gear, slows it down, takes all the speed out of the boat. I tie it up, and we just let it cinch up. It takes a while to get that rhythm, but once you got it, it's not that bad. But
the other thing is during the most of the time. I still fish by myself a lot, but I've gotten into the habit. I'm 70 years old, so people kind of worry about me being out there on the water. So what I do now is, I'll call 2 or 3 people and tell them, "Hey, I'm headed to the water. This is where I'm fishing. I'm going to fish below Wheeler Dam. I may end up, and I keep that's my safety measure."
Gotcha.
Now we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Doc. Don't you and the kids use Life 360, the app?
Yeah. The kids are always, Larry's always calling me. He goes, "Where are you at?" You'll see it on 360.
Yeah.
So. But I don't share 360 with my fishing buddies because I don't want them to know where I'm fishing.
Exactly. You don't want to give those spots away. That's right.
They have a phone call. They call me, and then I'll tell them where I'm at. I am not letting them see where I fish.
Well, that goes. You're already one step ahead of me. I was going to ask you to add me on Life 360 in case you need us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, I had to help Doc one time. I had to help Doc once.
It happens.
Lift a 76-pounder in the boat because he doesn't wear him out.
Yeah,
that's a good reason. That's a good reason to need help right there. I like that.
Me all over everywhere. That's in my little 18-footer, my center console I got.
All right, there you go, Zach. Yeah. I think me, you, and Skip need to add each other on there. You can add different tabs for different people.
Oh yeah.
Stuff, so.
Minnow dunkers. How cold does your water get down there, Doc? Usually, I've never seen it 45 degrees is probably the coldest I've seen.
Okay.
So
I got you. Well, I guess a big question that I had, and I think this goes for everybody, I believe. And I know you're primarily lake fishing now, but I guess this would be 2 different answers for the lake guys and then the river guys.
Correct.
In the looking for fish, how does your locations and structures and things you look for, how does that change for you in where you expect to see fish in the cold water period versus, let's say, the fall and that transition period?
Generally, in the cold water period, I go super shallow.
Okay.
I'm fishing in water 2, maybe 3 feet deep at the most.
Wow.
And if it's got current, that makes it even better. So
really?
yeah, so I've got they draw the lakes down here, the Tennessee River, they draw them down 5 feet.
Okay.
So I know I've got channels marked. I know where there's rock piles. I know all that stuff. When you get in that when it's generally some of the areas that I fish, the normal depth is like 7 or 8 feet. So you drop at 5, now you're looking at 2 and 3 foot. And sometimes it can go even lower than that. And there's rocks, there's all kinds of, there's a ton of structure. I was showing I went out walking today with Fudd and Jeff Helm, and I was showing them the area right there at First Creek around the corner of the main boat ramp. And I said, y'all probably have never seen this, but I said, look down here, there's 2 channels on each side, and look what's in the middle. And there was trees everywhere. I said, see, nobody ever sees that because a lot of people don't fish shallow water. I'm a big shallow water fisherman.
Okay.
Real big at it. So, and right now our big fish they're running in water that's less than 8 feet deep.
Wow.
I got a couple buddies that are out there. They fish at night. I'm not fishing. It's just a little too cold for me. I don't have my heater, my diesel heater put in my boat. Me and Terry are going to try to do that probably either this week or next week, more than likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bill Hopper wants to know what's your favorite lake in Ohio. I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll let you answer
it. Yeah, I can't even remember. It's the one down over there by your place.
Rocky Fork.
Rocky Fork. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I like Brown, but I loved Rocky Fork. So
Rocky Fork's a good lake, and it
has a lot of stuff in it. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like Paint Creek, but I could never get past Rocky Fork to fish Paint Creek. I got there a few times, but I would always end up back in Rocky Fork because I had Rocky Fork pretty much laid out.
Yeah.
I know where I could go and stuff like that. So,
hey, Eric's in the house. He says Hoover is better, which for big fish, he's right.
Like Hoover. I do like Hoover, but when I lived in Ohio, I had the big boat and I got busted out there fishing a tournament and in my big boat. And I didn't know that they had a 23-foot maximum length, and I'm out there in a 24-footer and they're hunting all over for me.
Oh yeah.
They got me, made me go all the way back. And I had like 89 pounds in the boat, and that was at 9 a.m. in the morning. First hour, yeah. And I had to sit around and wait all day. And then David Funk ended up winning the tournament and just barely beat me out. And he had all day. We still talk about that.
Yeah, he's all over that lake. He knows what he's doing. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, he gets some good fish.
There's a question that says, what type of water do you prefer to fish, river or lake, and why?
River. I've fished river my whole life. I like current. I like fishing ledges. I like fishing drop-offs, deep bends, deep outside bends, inside bends. I've been fishing rivers my whole life. And that was one of the reasons I moved down here because of the Tennessee River. It took me a while to get used to the lakes, but man, when they open them gates up below the bridge, I am ecstatic because I know I'm going to put 50s and 60s in the boat. And I don't ever go. I just don't go near the dam. Years ago, Lynn and I saw a couple drown below a dam, so I just kind of stay away from them. and Zach and both Zach and Roger know that I get a little nervous when we're up there and starting to back bounce, because I know where the bad places are.
Mm-hmm.
Things can happen so quick.
Oh yeah,
you're out there on a boat, so.
And a situation like that, it's all about being comfortable. If you're not comfortable somewhere, don't do it.
But I mean, when Zach's working a boat, I'm comfortable. I mean, we've gone right up to. We don't get right up in front of the gates there at Wheeler, but we get up close, and I know how far we can go up, and then we just start slipping back.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Zach is really good at boat control.
He's excellent.
Yeah, boat control and reading. My reaction time is getting slower. The trip we have with Bobcat, we about smashed into a. He was cranking the motor to the right, but somewhere along the way he turned the power off to the motor.
Oh.
He had her cranked hard. He's like, this thing ain't turning.
Right.
By the time we figured out what was going on, we was heading right for but we made it. We didn't.
When I started fishing the rivers, we didn't even have depth finders back then.
Mm-hmm.
You looked at the water and you learned to read the current seams and stuff like that. And actually, when I go fishing for skipjacks here below the dams, I don't use electronics. I'm watching. Yeah. I'm going old school and looking with my eyes and watching where those seams are at that are out there. So,
welcome in, JG Hill, Fishing Fever. Thank you guys for joining. So, getting back to cold water tactics, right now it's just now getting into the cold water, right?
Yeah.
Waters are just now starting to drop in those, cold temps. Are the fish still in their transition at this point? And, or have they pretty much moved towards their, I don't know if wintering holes is even an accurate term, but.
Here in Alabama, the bigger fish are making their run towards the dam right now. A good friend of mine, Kevin Childress, he's part of the Cat Mama fishing team.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I seen him out there, and I thought he was skipjack fishing. And then I looked up and I noticed him slipping back. And then I watched him net a tank, and I called him on the phone. And I said, how big was that fish you just caught? I said, look good from the bank here. And he said, oh, it was in the 40s. But he said, I made one pass, and I've got a 40. I think he caught 2 in the 40s and a 60, and he only had 3. He only had 3 skipjacks. The skipjacks are really, really, really tough to get here. And this time of year, a lot of times I will flip to shad. People down here they don't use shad. I use shad. I love those little yellow tails. I've got an extreme bait tank that I use a lot during the wintertime because I can put a bunch of bait in it and it holds it. And I've got the new 23-gallon low profile one. So it's only 15 inches tall. It's got a small footprint on it. It's only 2 feet wide, about 3 feet long. It sits right there in the boat. And I can load it up with a bunch of yellowtails. And one of the new features that we have in this tank is it's got a sprayer bar. So you can run either the regular nice little
Venturi
stream, going around, or you can run that sprayer bar, and it makes a big difference, especially if you got, if I get the opportunity. I like running live skipjacks. Oh man, those are one of my favorites. And I had to call Scott Crest to learn where to hook those things so that they would stay alive. Yeah, I figure, well, I got to keep them alive. Well, you put a live skipjack on there, and if he's out there 10 minutes, that's a pretty good life expectancy.
Really?
Yeah. Usually it's within 3 to 4 minutes, and they get whooped.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, and my grandson, I brought all my grandsons have caught 50. I think they've all my grandkids have caught 50-pounders down here, and most of them were on live skipjack.
Oh, cool.
Hey, real quick, I seen Brian ask BK or BCat. He's asking if you're fishing the Dry Creek tournament.
No, my son's going to be down here, so I'm not going to. I wish I was fishing it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to concentrate on enjoying them. They're going. I think they're going to be here for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, and by that time, you know, I'll have probably 3-4 days of fishing in, and you know, I'm sure I'll go over and watch the weigh-in, but no, I'm not going to fish it because the following week is the MRM Bama Blues.
Gotcha.
Welcome in, Danny. So I don't think I've heard too many people say that they use live bait through the winter. You know, most people that I know, you know, they catch it and put it on ice, and that's what they plan on using. Do the gizzard shad keep as well as I know here, you know, the gizzard shad, when the water's cold, they do just fine. But do they keep differently than the yellowtail do?
The yellowtail, now, you know, most of the time our yellowtails are maybe 2 to 3 inches long. The yellowtails that I'm catching right now, they're 5 and 6 inches long. So I was gonna say, they're big yellowtails.
They're older, yeah.
And when you cut one of them, the blood is so much brighter, and it just, I mean, it just kind of it smells different. You know, it's got a different smell to it, and so, you know, if I'm running cuts, I'll put like 2 or 3 of them on there. I got plenty, and I mean that tank that I've got, my old tank held a bunch. You know, I get them settled down. You know, I catch them in the cast net, have a bucket of water there, drop them in that bucket of water, let them purge everything, let them sit in there for a little bit, and then I transfer them over. And usually I don't have to change my socks out or anything, especially during the wintertime.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, KMB Anglers in the house. What's going on? Long time no see. There we go. So this is also usually a controversial topic is, you know, big baits or small baits, or do you like to mix it up?
I like to mix it up. Now, in the wintertime, I'm not using the 22 to 25-inch skipjack hole in the wintertime. So I'll drop down, you know, I learned a few things from Tommy Long, and that was to go thumbnail size bait. So, you know, one skipjack will run me kind of all day. 1 or 2 will run me all day. You know, I'll use frozen and stuff like that. But, you know, generally, I'm targeting big fish. I'm trying to catch that. I'm close. I got an 87 last year. And I've got this year, I've caught 15 fish over 70 pounds. Whew. So, you know, but I'm trying to get that 100 pound. It's the last thing on my bucket list is to get that 100 pounder. And my son, this last time that I talked to him, he goes, when I was up in Ohio for Thanksgiving, he said, Dad, do me a favor. He said, if you get the 100 pounder, restart your bucket list. So I thought that was cool. He said, restart that bucket list. I said, all right.
Come on, let's do some 5/0 hooks. 5/0.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I don't downsize hooks. I may downsize baits, but I don't. I'm using a 12/0 hook from Dale's Tackle. I've used them for quite a while now. I don't even think about
Welcome in, Ted.
Yeah. Hey, Ted. Good seeing you, buddy.
Hey, I'm like you. If that fish can't hit that 10-12/0 hook, you know,
Well, down here, these fish are not line shy. They're not weight shy. You know, I used to use sinker slides. Now I don't. I just fasten the weight. They don't care. They pick it up, and usually they go to mock. Mach 15 real quick.
Yep.
So,
ours are the same way. They either want it or they don't. When they hit it, they ain't shy about it. Yep.
And I mean, you know, here at any time, you can have that, you know, the 70, 80, 90, 100 pounder hit. And I sure don't want to make sure I've got a light wire hook on my rig when I've got them beefy Dale 12-aughts.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I'm used to some of those Dale's 12s. They are nice and they're super sharp. Austin says 12-aught hook with a thumbnail size bait. That thing looks naked.
Yeah. It's, you get plenty of hook exposure when you're running something.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and we've done the same here. We've caught some really big fish on some really small baits at times. I know Skip's not in here right now.
The other thing I do in the wintertime is get the scales off the bait, or even fillet it down, just because I want that scent out, and it doesn't move near as fast in cold water as it does in hot.
Right.
So I want as much of that out. And a lot of times these fish are just kind of picking up a bait and they're just messing with it. They'll start just easing the rod down like flatheads. They'll just kind of ease them down. Well, in the wintertime, the blues here, most of the time they'll just lay a rod down and you just start smoking drag off of it. And a lot of times that, your 14 and 15 pound fish are doing that. And I think a lot of times what happens, I'll get into a school and they're fighting for the bait. And so everybody's trying to get their lunch. And so they're literally picking it up and ripping it down.
They're trying to run away with it.
Yeah. And I run my drags fairly heavy. I know when a rod goes down and a drag unloads, it's a decent fish.
It's a good fish.
And then, I grab it and I can start adjusting it right off the get-go. So
gotcha.
See this comment here from Tommy?
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
Yep. That was a long time ago. I remember that tournament. That was a lot of fun.
So besides shallow water, because I'm a fan of the shallow water as well. Cold days.
Yeah.
Got some sun out. I love cruising. Matter of fact, when I came down there, first thing I did was cruise flats. I found fish. They wouldn't eat, but they were there. 3 to 5 foot of water.
Yeah. Yep. They just wouldn't go. No,
they wouldn't. So, but when you're looking at other areas, where do you look for high concentration, or where do you think you have the most probability of encountering multiple large fish? Because we know that in the wintertime, they group up.
Yeah.
And
well, if they open the gates up at Wheeler Dam, I am going clear down in the middle of the lake and actually beyond the middle of the lake, and I'm fishing the standing trees that are on Wilson. They're cedar trees, but their root system is like a whole bunch of fingers sitting out, and those fish pack up underneath that stuff. Yeah, you're going to lose hardware, but almost always, I remember fishing a tournament years ago with Vicky and Jason Mathena, and it was high current. I mean, we had the anchor rope out 250 feet, and it was, we had it hooked up, but we were back. It was a channel, and then there was a whole bunch of trees right in front of that channel, and them fish were packed up on those. And all we were doing was launching the baits out and sitting there waiting, and then had it, you got, when it comes to trees, you got a 50-50 shot of getting them out of the trees.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And am I willing to try that? Doggone right, I will.
Yep.
50-50 shot on a 70. Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, yeah.
50-50 shot.
Take those odds all day.
And I've got this one fish that I swear that fish knows what I'm doing when I pull up on him, because I have sat there and watched the rod, and as soon as I turn my head or do something different, he will rip it down.
Yep.
And it's on a hump. It's a hump that sits in 75 foot of water.
Mm-hmm.
The hump is 22 feet up
mm-hmm.
off of the bottom. There's a tree right on top, but it's Sherwood forest all the way around this big hump. And the hump is about the size of about a 24-foot garage. You know, I've mapped it out pretty hot and heavy, and I've tried different ways to keep that dude from going down into Sherwood Forest. And I have not. I'm about. It's 0-4.
Oh.
So, and my fishing partner Chris Fuller is at 0-3.
Ken said he's lost some big fish in those trees, and I know what trees you're talking about. I believe I know what trees you're talking about. Yeah. Zach and I have lost a couple of fish in there as well. But
Kenny, do you think rather small baits in winter because their metabolism slows down? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, that, and the smaller baits in the wintertime are more concentrated when it comes to scent and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I'm just taking a guess. I'm just using my experience.
Sure.
I really haven't. Some of the guys that have been fishing down here for years, I haven't talked. I need to talk to them just to find out, are they still using these monster, 20 to 25 inch whole skipjack is what my norm is. What I fish with. Some of these skipjacks are so big that I can't even throw them out the back of the boat. So what I end up doing is I just drop them the back. And if we're dragging, I'll end up letting it go. I get,
just let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. I go half of a reel out. So the bait is about 480, maybe 500 feet behind the boat. If I'm dragging. My boards, if I'm dragging my boards, the outside boards are running about 350 feet from the boat.
Wow.
So they're way out there, and I use a range finder so that I can keep them. I got OCD on how I got my board set up. So if I got one side set up correctly, and I like the way it's pulling, you kind of got to look at it. If you got a board here, and a board here, that is where your scent trail is at.
Right.
So I want to keep those boards. So I use that rangefinder to keep them where I want them, and then set the other side up the same way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do I know Steve Buren? Yes, I do know Steve Buren very, very well.
And apparently he's killing it down there.
Yeah, they've been catching some really good fish.
That's awesome.
Now, you talk about dragging baits, and I have it may be a little bit of a dumb question because I don't drag baits very much at all. But as the water gets colder, especially now when the water's kind of getting cold, you maybe want to drag baits. Do you run? I'm trying to think of how to word this. Do you run your boards, let's say, closer together? That way, let's say each line isn't as far apart going out the sides of the boat.
No, because when you're dragging bait, you're trying to cover water, and you're looking for active fish. One thing you have to do, and it can be kind of tricky doing it, is trying to get down to 0.1, 0.2 mile an hour.
Gotcha.
So, I'm throwing, I carry 3 different sizes of drift socks in my boat. I got a 54, I got a 72, and I got a 10-foot Eastman it's like a parachute, and actually it's one of my favorites because it will bring that boat down to an absolute crawl.
I guess so.
So, and if I've got current and I've got the anchor out the front, I don't want the back of that boat just kind of popping all over everywhere, because if we get that west wind blowing hard here on Wilson and Wheeler, you got 2 to 3 footers coming up the back of the boat. Ooh. And you don't want that. Well, if you put that drift sock out the back, it's just like kind of filling up the live well. I've got pods on the back of my boat, so my boat will rise and it'll settle down.
Yeah, right.
And so, I'll use a drift sock. I've always got almost always have drift socks out.
Yeah, right.
All the time.
Because I'm pretty sure you and I run almost the identical boat, except I have the 20-footer. But I've seen your boat; it looks identical to mine.
Yeah, it's Protege. So
22 Protege. How cold is too cold to drag baits?
He's got a different boat now.
I was going back to the center console.
Center console, he don't have that.
Oh,
well, you still have that, don't you?
Your grandson's got it.
Gotcha. I got you. Okay.
How cold is too cold to drag baits?
Well, you only get down to 45, so
yeah. And I know there's a lot of guys that I fish against down here. That's all they do. They won't anchor. They will just drag baits. They just go slower. Everybody does everything different,
Yeah.
And just because the way I do things, that doesn't, that's not the best way. Just, get out there and time on the water is how you learn what these fish are doing, how they're reacting. When you get out there, one of the best things that I learned over the years of fishing is if I can learn what a bait fish is going to do, I'll catch fish, because that's the only reason those fish are there is to eat that bait.
Right.
Yep.
And, shad are dumb. I mean, they are not a bright fish, especially when a predator comes around them. And that's one of the big things that I've learned down here. When I see a school of shad working the lake, whether it be hot or cold, the very first thing I'm looking at is to see if they're in defense mode. When they're in defense mode, they tighten up and they go around in circles. They are not moving forward, backwards. They're just running in a circle.
Okay.
When I see that, I know that there's a fish somewhere nearby and that I need to be targeting that area. In the summertime, if I see them out there and they're kind of spread all over everywhere, there's probably still fish there, but it's amazing watching how the skipjacks herd the shad up and then watching the actual fish.
I can attest that I got a first taste of that down there this last trip when I was hunting for fish. I went back in the back of a creek and around this one dock. I don't know why it was like this one dock back there. The skipjack were rounding up all the shad, and when they got them round up tight, they'd explode on them, and it just it would erupt.
And
they'd all scatter, and then in about 5 minutes, they've got them all herded back up again, and then they bust them again. And it was we caught a few off of them doing that, but it was just really cool to actually see it take place over and over again in front of your eyes.
Yeah. The other thing I do down here is I watch where the pelicans are. The pelicans love yellowtails and loons.
Yeah.
They eat the yellowtails. The pelicans are, they are master fishermen.
They are
down here.
Yep. And
what they'll do is they'll herd these the shad up, and they form a U shape, and then they take their wings and they start smacking the water.
Mm-hmm.
That forces the
shad to go into that defense mode. But when they start flapping their wings on the water, that gets, if there's skipjacks in the area, it gets them all excited. And then the skipjacks start moving in. And as soon as they move in, they close that thing up. And then all you see is the rear ends up.
Yep.
And they're all dipping and diving. If I see that, I am coming in full bore on top of them, because I know there's fish there. I know there's bait there. I drive the boat right up into the whole thing, and I make them scatter.
Yep. See, same thing. We got a lot of pelicans here.
Not trying to injure them or anything.
But they'll get out of the way. It'll be fine.
I just get out of my way. You guys are on what I'm trying to find. Bait is critical.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And bait is what those fish are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get to the point where you can anticipate what your bait's doing, what your predators are doing.
Yeah. We've got probably a few hundred of them piled up right now. We got one area that one of the dams is closed and not running any water. So the water's just pooled in this big area that probably covers, 20, 30 acres. Yeah. And you can't throw a rock in that whole thing without hitting a pelican. And it's just stacked. And
they're big. I mean, what we have here in Alabama are the black tips. So they got about a 10-foot wingspan on them.
They're big.
I never realized how big they was until I got Willow, and she's always in the front of the boat. She's always usually laid down. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, the pelicans can't stand it. I've had them land on the back of my boat, and Willow sees them, and she just gets jacked up as soon as she sees the pelican. And, she's diving off the boat, trying to knock them off of the boat and stuff like that. So I try not to take her out in the winter time, because it's kind of hard to fish a dog out of the water when it's cold.
Yeah. Do you see his comment here? Brian Mellon says hello. Pelicans.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Grand Lake, St. Mary's. I have never fished that lake. I have talked about fishing that lake. I don't know how many times, but I've never fished it. Crappie is what comes to mind. I want to go catch some big crappie out of there, but
no, Tommy, I haven't caught a muskie down here. I haven't heard much about any muskies, or the big thing down here. It's crappie, brim, catfish is on the bottom. They're near the bottom, but there's a lot of catfishermen that are in this area. A bunch.
That's one of the things I love.
Parker Pursuits just put on there. We don't see a lot of seagulls. We got the terns, which are the smaller birds. Mm-hmm. But those things can get bad, because I've caught them in my skipjack rigs, and those guys, you got to get a hold of them. I always carry towels and everything. You got to throw it over their head, or they got that real sharp beak, and it's like a hypodermic needle. And I mean, they can bust your hands like 10 times before you even get a hold of them. You look down and you got these little round poke marks, and you're bleeding all over everywhere.
All right, welcome in, Roger Brown. Glad you could join us. Thought I saw another question there.
I guess one more question from me. This is self-serving, of course. But, what would you say to someone like me that, big river fishing, my first instinct, honestly, year round, but especially during the winter, the first thing I want to do is find the biggest, deepest, darkest hole I can possibly find, big bank cut in, big current seam, big eddy, and I'm looking for these fish just stacked up down in,
that's the first place I start looking at. And if I find wood.
Oh, gotcha.
Wood is an absolute magnet, because it ends up being a current break. It's a current break for the fish, and it's more of a current break for the bait.
Right.
So and that's one of the reasons that if I get the current going here on the Tennessee River, that's why I'm fishing the trees, because I like that wood. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I've noticed here since I moved here, I've lived. I'm starting on my 5th year, but I think no 4 years. 4 years. I moved here in 20. Is flatheads down here don't relate too much to wood, which is kind of unusual. I'll mark a fish in wood, and it usually ends up being a blue. But if I target rock, that ends up being a flathead.
Okay.
It's just kind of the difference. I don't know what I know up north, it's you target wood, you're going to get a flathead.
Yeah.
You target rock, you're going to get a blue.
And even here, it's the same thing. Sunken trees, sunken logs. That's where the yellowcat are, and revetment stuff like that. That's where we find the blues. It's pretty much typical of what you hear from everybody else. Interesting.
Tommy wants to know if you're going to make it to the Sandusky Bay Cabela's event this year.
Probably not. It's hard. It's hard for me to leave Sweet Home Alabama. I like it. My kids were worried about that. I wasn't going to come home for Christmas, and I told them, I said, if it's snow up there, I will stay here in Sweet Home Alabama. I said, so
they can have that stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
now I'm older, I don't like the snow. I liked it when I was young. I don't like it now. So, we don't. I mean, the first time I moved here in 20, and everybody accused me of bringing the snow and ice down here. My first year here, we got 8 inches of snow in one night.
Oh, wow.
It literally shuts the state down. I got busted by a cop because I was out. I'd spent 2 days here at the house and I was going crazy. So I said, I got to get in the truck. So I fired it up. Man, I'm in 4-wheel drive. I'm going down the highway, and I said, where are the, there's no track marks, nothing. And, I pulled in the gas station. Nobody at the gas station. I said, where's all the people? And then I hear, whoo. And I looked up, and there's a sheriff. He walks up and asks me what I'm doing. I said, I'm out here playing around. Around. And he ran my plates. He goes, you're from Alabama, but you're not from around here, are you? And I said, nope, not originally. I said, I just moved here in May. And he goes, well, the state is shut down. I said, what do you mean the state is shut down? He said, you're not allowed out. The only ones that are allowed out here are the wreckers.
Yeah, emergency vehicles.
Anything emergency. And here in Alabama, a wrecker is considered an emergency vehicle.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is.
So I wasn't used to it. I looked at him. I said, well, I was just out playing around. And he said, well, Mr. Lange, you need to go home and stay there until this melts. And he said, we have no snow removal equipment, and we don't want to see you off in the ditch and stuff like that. I said, I'm originally from Ohio. I'm used to this stuff. I said, I lived through the blizzard of 78. So I said,
wow. Oh yeah. 2 inches of snow here. Shut it down.
Yeah.
That's it. Shut it down. Hurricanes, no problem. Go to the store, do what you got to do. No problem at all. 2 inches of snow. Nope.
Yeah. So. Any other questions? Anybody got? I'm trying to think of what I can keep going.
The only other question I had, and like I said, I keep asking these self-serving questions.
That's fine.
Yeah. I got to do that. And I know you talk a lot about shallow water and a lot of the opportunities in shallow water, especially during the winter. What do some of us river guys need to maybe think about if we're going to go looking in shallow water on these big rivers?
Well, one of the things that I do a little bit different here, during the summertime, I've always got floats on my rigs. During the wintertime, I usually take the floats off. Your bait is it's got a natural buoyancy to it.
Right.
But the one thing that I noticed, the the very first thing I do when I catch a fish, I flip the fish over, look at its belly. Is it covered with mud or is it clean? Then I look at its back and I look to see if there's silt or anything on there. That right there, that tells, if I start seeing that kind of stuff, I know those fish are moving along the bottom, just inches off of the bottom or in the mud. They're rooting around. And, we got a lot of milfoil and grasses here. In the wintertime, those things die and then they pile up. It makes, them fish kind of get up underneath that kind of stuff.
Right.
Normally in the summer, I wouldn't fish out there, but during the winter time, I'll put baits out there. I'll scatter them all over everywhere.
Gotcha.
Here in Alabama, we have unlimited rods, but the most rods I use when I'm by myself is 6. That's probably the max that I use. If I have my fishing partner with me, it's I've had as many as 18 rods out on the boat. It looks like an octopus.
I don't think I own 18 rods.
I don't like to run that many rods, but I mean, especially if you're not catching fish, you can run that many. But if you start start smoking some 30s and 40s, you're going to have a bunch of rigs all tied up.
So you fished with Pontoon Jody at some point then?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a good question from Trey.
It is.
Yeah, and somebody just posted there that inline rattles. I don't use the Demon Dragons. They're just too. I mean, I've got a lot of structure here, and at $5 a crack, the rattles that you put on the line are so much easier to use.
Yep.
The other thing I'll do is if I don't have a lot of current and I'm anchored up, I'll throw the bait out, let it sit. If it sits there for 5 minutes and I don't get a twitch, I'll bring it in a couple of feet, just, kind of sit there and just, the other thing I do a lot in the wintertime is I'll throw a drifting sinker, a small drifting sinker on, throw that rascal out there as far as I can get it, and then just walk it back to the boat. Just ease it on back to the boat. And a lot of times before it gets back to the boat, that somebody will come along and bust it.
That's a good one. I like
interesting. I like that.
My leaders during the summer too, 18 inches, 20.
Yeah, yours is short.
Yeah, I run short leaders. I want control of my boat of my baits. When you run long leaders, 4 to 5 footers, the bait is sitting there. I mean, it's just, you can watch it. I've sat there. Our waters are so clear down here. Sometimes you can see the bottom in 10 feet of water. So you can kind of see what your baits are doing. And a lot of times I'll just sit out there and play. I'm retired. I don't have anything else to do, but that's my life. So I sit out there and I watch how things do, how they react and stuff like that. That's how I learned about the skip.
That's how you learn, though.
Yeah, right. Time on the water, and that's why I tell people, say, well, what's the best thing to do? Time on the water,
and pay attention to everything going on around you.
And learn. I mean, if I fish a tournament, and somebody beats me at what I'm doing, the very first question I'm asking, how did you fish? What were you doing? What was different? That you beat me with. Versus,
not where, but what were you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to know where they're fishing.
You just want to know how.
Exactly. Tons of areas around here.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter where anybody goes. You have fishermen that scope out other fishermen. Some people are being lazy because they're not finding their own spots. I have tons of people that follow me around, and I don't mind, but it's just,
when I'm out there and I'm out there, I'm having fun, but I'm also working hard to find, like right now on what, one of the big joke around here in Alabama is when I pass away, everybody's going to be killing to get my waypoints off of my units.
You can probably sell copies of your SD card for, I mean, you can run it up.
Because I've been mapping Wilson Lake since I moved here. And on Wilson Lake alone, I got 5,600 waypoints on Wilson Lake alone.
Ooh.
So,
they're color coded by size of fish caught.
Yeah. So,
wow.
I've got anything over 50 pounds has got an American flag on it. So you see a lot of American flags. I use stop signs. I don't use the tree symbols because I can't see them. They're hard to see. So I use Lawrence has a stop signs. They pop right out, and
I know which one you're
talking
about.
If I find a tree, what I'll do is I'll put a stop sign at the root ball on both ends of the root ball, where the end of the tree is, where the middle part of the tree, you'll see stop signs. And when I noticed it the other day when I was looking at my stuff on the computer, that you can see, I didn't even realize I was doing it. I move around, and when I look at it, you can see the shape of the tree that's there with the stop signs I use because I'm dropping so many waypoints in it. So, but the trees that we have down here are huge. I mean, they're 60, 70 foot long or tall, massive root balls. The root balls are huge. Some of the root balls are 15 feet tall.
Yeah, we've got some big cypress like that in some deep water. Yeah.
I'm not sure in your situation it would help you with having 5,600 waypoints in a location, but I know Garmin is able to. I don't know if Lawrence is able. You could change the size of the waypoints. You can make the font larger, but if you got that many, you might not be able to see the water.
And you've seen my unit, Roger, below the dam. Man, it's just covered with stop signs because I've got every tree that's, and a lot of times I'll just go back out. I'll get out there. I'm not even fishing. I go out there and I confirm that either it's when we have floods here, everything changes. Stuff moves. The wood that is below the dam used to be just below the towers. Now it's a quarter of a mile down the river.
Gotcha.
All the wood is now right where Big Nance comes out into Wilson Lake. That's where the wood's at. And so, but we haven't had any high current situations now here in 2 years. So when they open them gates up, everything starts moving, hydraulics are very, very powerful here.
Oh, absolutely.
Jerry wants to know what your top 3 favorite river baits are.
Top 3 river baits. For here in Alabama, skipjack is probably number 1, followed by gizzard and yellowtail shad. And believe it or not, one of my favorites is we have a lot of red horse suckers here. And there's something about a red horse that these fish love.
They're good. That's a good bait everywhere.
And I use I try to catch, I catch a lot of the red horse in using a cast net, but we catch a lot of red horse while we're fishing for skipjacks.
Really?
They'll hit spoons. They'll hit the Foley spoon, and we've caught them fishing for that, like that.
That's interesting.
I don't know if Zach's testing me here. He said, "What was the first thing we did on our first trip to Wilson? We went out and found these trees Doc's speaking of because he told us, hey, there's some trees down there. Just find some trees and find some fish." So we went out there and scanned around. We found some trees. We set up, threw a rod out. Zach turned his back on his first rod, grabbed his second rod, and the first rod had a 53-pounder on it.
Nice.
We were there like 5 minutes. We're like, why have we never done this before? Holy crap. 5 minutes there, and we got 50. It was a 53 or 54 pounder on.
Heck yeah.
Let's see.
And it's been, I've been pretty busy here for a while. Terry Haraway and I have been working on a lot of boats and stuff like that. It's been real windy. Wind really affects me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite conditions.
Yeah, and the wind down here can be brutal. It can be real dangerous.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, but you kind of got the luxury of, there's a lot of coves and a lot of cuts, but then you can hop up on Wheeler and find refuge out of wind and still be in great fishing areas. But crossing those big waters is
Gunnersville is an hour and a half away. Pickwick is 45 minutes away. Wheeler and Wilson are 20 minutes from my house. So, and I have enough friends, I'll call and say, hey, what's it doing down there? And, some of the guys that I'm friends with, they live right on the river. Some of them don't, but we're always kind of sharing different, all the information. We're always looking for bait and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Zach remembers the waypoint 0311.
Doc, on recent trips, I'm having hook fish pull off after a short fight. I'm using 8/0 circle hooks. Any suggestions? I've seen that a lot. I've seen it a lot down here where you got a rod that's just buried down. Most of the time, if they don't make that turn, they don't turn right or left, they're going to come off because the circle hook is designed to slide in that corner. Either if they're hooked in the roof, which the roof of the mouth and the lower jaw are one of the worst spots to catch a fish.
Yeah. Right.
Just because there's just there's a bone there. That's the Dale's hooks that, they will cut through that bone.
Right.
Other hooks may not. I'm always keeping an eye. I keep a file on board the boat. I'm always kind of sitting there sharpening them, especially after I catch a big fish or if I'm fishing heavy rock and stuff like that.
Yeah, south wind on the Mississippi. They thought he was going to die.
I've had that happen more than once. A big south wind against that strong current. It makes some high, choppy waves, and throw in a couple of big barge pushes in that. Ooh.
Yeah,
it can get wild.
Yeah, it's the same for us. We're always checking the hook points.
The Windy app I use heavily here.
Yeah.
It's pretty accurate. Sometimes it's off. Sometimes they'll say, hey, it's not doing it. And sometimes I've been out there and I've got the luxury of living this close is if it gets nasty, I just put the boat on the trailer.
Yeah.
Go home. It's not a busted trip for me.
Right.
Because I live here.
Right.
When I lived in Ohio, and I traveled down here and I traveled down here for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. You fished in rain, sleet,
gonna go. That's right.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, you didn't care. High winds and stuff. You were only here for a short period of time, and then you had to go back home. And when you drive that far, you want to fish. Well, now that I live here, I can fish every day if I want. And for the most time during the summertime, I'm on the water. But as soon as it starts getting kind of cold, then I kind of back off, and then I may only end up on the water maybe one time a week. But I'm always down there. I'm always getting information from people and stuff. Kevin Childress he's a young guy, and he can handle the cold. I don't, but I'm getting ready to change that because we're getting ready to put one of the diesel heaters
in my boat.
Oh
And
boy.
those things are a game changer. Those make
Really?
a big difference. Yeah. So, you can like I can pull the boat out of the garage, put the Vimy top up, put all of the stuff on it, leave it outside overnight. And when I get up in the morning, all I got to do is fire up that heater. And by the time I get to the lake, the windshield is completely defrosted. It's 80, 85 degrees inside the enclosure. And it's so nice. It's just, spoiled.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah, well, hey, you earned it. That's okay.
Jerry and I have put in so many of those heaters that we've got temp plates that we use, and we can crank them out one day and we're done. We know we can use what power functions it needs to have, the holes where they know where we wrap the exhaust, where the exhaust lines need to go, where the intakes need to be gone. And most of the time you'll never see the heater. All you see are the directional units that push the air.
Yeah, the actual vents. Yeah, that's cool. Did Roger freeze up? I think Roger. Okay, there you go. Hey, Roger's back.
I'm having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, see that.
Yeah, keep freezing up.
It's always something.
How much do those things run, Doc? The diesel heaters.
Bud just bought a brand new one, and it was $179.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Wow.
So it takes Terry and I one day from the time we get it to, we start laying it out. It takes us longer. We have to take the seats out of the boat. Mm-hmm. You pull the seats out. Dynasties are real wicked. The seats are just terrible. The Protege, we did one for Robert Gilchrist, and it was one of the sweetest installs you ever saw. And then we had trouble trying to figure out how are we going to get the heat over to the other side. And then we found a 3-inch insulated dryer vent that we were able to run off of a T and bring it across the front of the gas tank. And so now that's how we do the Proteges.
Cool. Okay.
And really, I think we're going to start doing all the rest of boats like that, because like on Terry's Dynasty, we've got the nozzles over. One nozzle pops up to the passenger window. Mm-hmm. The other nozzle is right at the edge of the console, and it blows across. So now we have figured out, hey, we can run that extension up underneath and bring that nozzle right out at that windshield.
Yeah, without putting anything across in the walking path for somebody to trip over.
It's all hid. We're big about, we don't want anything, so exposed and stuff like that. But so far we have not. The guys down here have been running them. Fricky was probably one of the first guys I had one. And he's probably had the one on his boat for since I moved here.
Janet says the heater will definitely run you out of the enclosure.
Once you get it warmed up, you start trimming that motor down, and but it's.
Freddie says, so what would be your biggest advice to tell an angler when fishing Wheeler or Wilson for the first time?
Just be careful. There's a lot of hidden stuff around here, the boat ramps, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of rock. You can get out. I always tell people don't get near the dam for the first time, because the current can change in a heartbeat. One of the things a lot of people may not know, on the Tennessee River, everything is controlled from Chattanooga. Everything. All the dams are controlled. The hydros are all controlled from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
So when you hear a siren go off, you'll hear a siren go off. You got 3 minutes to get away from that dam before they do something. So, you got to get away from the dam, and then you'll see when they power down a turbine, it sounds like a jet plane taking off. You'll hear it wind down. But when they kick them on, you get no warning other than water that's blowing out of the dam.
Gotcha.
And sometimes depending on if they have different size units. You have large units and you have small units. The smaller units only put the water up maybe a foot or so. The big units, I've seen it, way up in the air. I've seen it pick boats up and throw them away from them. The guys don't get away quick enough. Wow. There's a lot of people that tie up to the wall. They know what they're doing, but me, I want to live a long time.
Yeah.
You're not going to see me up against the walls, but there's a lot of.
Yeah. I see it every time.
Yeah. So what unit do you recommend for the heater? We get them off of Amazon. Let me see here real quick. Bear with me. Just keep on talking.
Go ahead. So, well, think about this while you're looking, because Freddie wants to know what would be the best 2 months if somebody was going to take a vacation and come down and fish Wheeler Wilson. He's planning his trips for 2024, and Wilson and Wheeler is on his list.
Wilson and Wheeler, I would say February and March. January, February, March. April, May, if you want to chase flatheads, April and May are the top months down here. Gunnersville is March, April, May. Anytime there's a lot of water running, that's the best time to catch a monster fish down here.
Yeah. All right, so he's looking that up for James. I'll be interested in. My boat's nowhere near ready for a heater, but I can tell you that when it is.
Okay, it's called a super fast racing 8 kW 12-volt diesel heater.
Okay. Let's see something here. Might be able to.
Yeah, I was looking for it. Super fast.
And they come in a kit. When you order it, they'll come with it's got all the hardware and stuff. We have to build brackets and stuff, to mount them under the boats in the floor of the boats. But everything that we've got, you see the nozzle, but you don't see the heater.
Yeah, gotcha.
So,
that actual unit itself, yeah.
Yeah. On the Protege is the only one where you see the tank, and we put it under. It's on the side where it looks like a rod locker, but it's right there at the consoles. The heater and the fuel tank all sit right in that whole area right there. We got there's braces that are down there that are perfect. I mean, it makes life really easy. All we got to do is bore a couple of holes and drop that thing in there, and it's there. And then we put the gas tank, the diesel tank right there, so that the nozzle, when you pull up to the pump, it's right there just past the windshield.
Gotcha.
And you can, put the fuel right in there to it. So.
Yeah, these things are pretty neat. They've got.
Oh yeah, they're pretty cool.
They've got some of them with, remote controls and.
Yeah, they all have a remote control. They also have a remote that you can stop the unit. If you're in the house, you can, and you get up and your boat's sitting out in the driveway, and you hit it, and it'll fire up that heater. And by the time you get there, it's all nice and warm and toasty, and you're ready to go.
So the fuel reservoir, it's built into the heater itself, right?
No, some of on that one you have to have a separate fuel tank.
Okay, well that's good in a way that
some of the boats got the 2.5 gallon plastic tank. Some of them come with like, I think this heater here might come with a another tank. Let me look here real quick.
Yep, people are starting to put I haven't seen a link yet in chat, but they found it. They're looking at it.
Yeah, they're some of them are square, so they're real easy to put in. You bring the 12 volt into it. It's got a little pump. It's got a little diesel pump that pumps, just fires it up. Yep, that's it.
There you go.
Fires it up. Yep. So the one thing that we do that we don't like, we don't use the muffler. They don't make any noise. They got this muffler that they have on. We don't use the muffler at all on it. We eliminate the muffler. It becomes a leak point. The other thing is we order header wrap tape for headers. And see that white deck? That's a gas tank. That's perfect for a Protege. For a Dynasty, we go with about a 2 gallon. Most of the time, we like a steel tank for the Dynasty. Mm-hmm. So, and that little silver thing, that's the muffler. We don't even use the muffler. They're not loud at all.
Huh.
And we wrap the exhaust pipe with racing header tape.
Yep. Header wrap. Yep. Exactly what you're talking about.
We take the tape and we drop it in a bucket of water and let it soak real good. It's a whole lot easier to handle and wrap. And then when you fire the heater up, the heat will steam it off and it locks it in place. We don't use the clamps that are available for it because they're junk. So we use stainless steel wire and just twist it, like a clamp.
Yeah, because that's plenty good enough. Because the true stainless zip ties that you buy for those things, that's made for engine vibration. You'll never vibrate that off in a boat. That's just wrapping it with wire is fine.
Yeah. So
James, I don't know if you caught that, but he said that was the one there that they use, that they've been using. And that's $126 with a $7 coupon. Yeah, $120 for a diesel operated heater. I guarantee it's probably a lot better than the buddy heaters most of us use.
Yeah, and we've all been burnt with them things. Especially if you've got rain gear on, you lean up against the thing and it melts right into your rain gear. Mm-hmm. I've got the big sun heater that sits on top of the tank. Right now, that's what's in my boat. I've got that right there, but it's sitting inside of a milk crate so that it doesn't roll over, it doesn't move around on me. But and it works really good, but you can't regulate it. Either it's full bore or you can regulate it, either you want it high or low. All these things, they'll tell you what the temperature is inside the cab, and you just regulate it to your comfort.
No kidding.
It's quiet. You don't hear it. You'll hear a ticking noise, and that's where the little pump is pumping the fuel into the heater. Gotcha. But we've run them 14 hours and not run them out, not run the fuel out of the tank. So they don't take, once that glow plug gets hot and then they start, heating, it's got like a little turbo fan in there. Mm-hmm. So it runs through it. So sorry, I didn't mean to get off subject there.
Oh no, you're fine. This is stuff people come here to learn and pick up tips and.
Hey, it's cold weather fishing. Yeah,
that's part of
equipment too.
Janet's heading out of here. Good night, Janet, and Merry Christmas to all.
Good night, Merry Christmas. I talked to Bink earlier when he got off work, and I talked to him. So.
I put that in my cart, so if anybody wants a better look at that or they couldn't find it, just shoot me a message and I'll shoot you the link. Or
the only other thing that we do different, the exhaust pipe that they have is too short. So we order, I think it's 120 centimeters long,
exhaust pipe. It's a little extra, but it's a thin stainless steel exhaust pipe.
Wait, hang on, Bo.
So
There you go. I was able
outside
to
of that, I think pretty much of the heaters, whatever, you use everything in there. It's got 2 directional nozzles. It's got a T that you put in there.
So you guys obviously have been installing these and getting better and more efficient with you as you go. From the beginning, was there any like YouTube tutorials for people that?
No. And Terry and I talked about it. Man, we ought to do a YouTube on these things.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But people when they want them, and they want to get them in, and
yeah.
So we just
we're all procrastinators.
One day, we break. We take a lot of breaks because
you can, right?
The full install is probably only about 4 to maybe 5 hours long at the most, but we usually we kind of make it about a 12-hour day.
Yeah,
kind
of like a union job.
And then if somebody shows up, oh man, that's it.
Oh yeah, that's it.
We gotta stop. We gotta take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you gotta get lunch in there and dinner.
Yeah, and I keep Terry moving all the time. He smokes, and I'm always, all right, you want to take a smoke break? Need to take a smoke break. Then we need to go. So he tells me I treat him like a rented mule.
Wow.
All right. I think James,
and he does most of the work. So
you're supervising. It's a very important.
Well, I'm the gopher. I tell him, I said,
that's even better.
Gopher. I go for this and go for that, whatever you need, because I know his shop from front to back, so I know what to go get when he asks me for it.
That's even better.
So
yes, Jody, we're still live.
Yeah.
One is stainless steel exhaust, parking area here, 78 inches long, bent hose length.
That might be it.
78. I'm not sure. I don't know how long. They do centimeters on all this thing.
Yeah.
Here, from what we saw, I remember seeing it on Amazon the other day when I looked at it, because it was like 120 centimeters, whatever 120 centimeters is. But that thing is, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 foot long.
I got
so 78 is probably a whole lot. We're only talking maybe 36, 48 inches long.
Yeah, I think there's like 2-point-something centimeters in an inch, if I remember right, like 2.2 or something like that. So I don't know, something like that.
I'm old school. I still do the inch.
Yeah,
I know. That's what. Well, in school, it was learn the metric system.
Yeah.
Big change coming. Like,
nah, never happened. But
too hard. It's based on tens.
Before I retired and I was working, full time. Yeah, everything was centimeters, and I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
So now that I'm retired and enjoying life, it's a whole lot different for me.
What's up, Skipper?
I'm glad to see so many people in here tonight. I appreciate it.
Had a big crowd tonight.
Yeah,
awesome.
We still it's about 70 people.
Yeah. So and I did the show for Catfish Weekly for like 3 years.
Yeah, I remember that.
I moved down here, and I told Lyle, I said, I love the show. I love interacting with people, but I want to fish. And Monday nights kind of takes away. Tuesday night, and I teased Roger about this. I said, Tuesday night is my date night. That's I take my girlfriend out on Tuesday nights. So and Roger met her, and him and Jackie met her, and so
very, very sweet.
We have a good time. So
you got Mr. Frick in the house. Justin.
What's going on, Justin?
128 centimeters. There you go.
Yeah.
We miss that.
I knew somebody was going to be smart enough to figure this out. I wasn't going to try.
Mm-hmm.
We got too many smart people in here for me to go scratching my head.
Yeah, because I saw another one on there that said 36 inches the max or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what it ends up being about. All you're doing is coming off the bottom of this heater. It's kind of crazy the way the heater is made, because all the exhaust, everything is fed from underneath, and then you got to wind it up and around this heater.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. I don't know why they didn't make it. They made this thing like it's upside down. So you have to go 90 up and then across and to get everything out. It's got the exhaust port that goes on the boat. We have to drill a hole right into the side of the console to get it to go outside, because you don't want the exhaust coming inside the boat.
Right.
Or, you're going to come up with beet red and, so, hey, Doc, it's been a while. I'm happy to see you doing well. I got to get off. Merry Christmas, everyone. You too, Ted. Good seeing you, buddy.
Thanks for stopping in, Ted. Yeah, I was just looking at a couple of the other style heaters out there, and yeah, it's crazy how they got some of these built.
Yeah,
intake and outtake.
Yeah, some are made that it's just like a little suitcase, a little mini suitcase,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is all right there, and you just put it and kind of set it on the floor. We like to have the directional nozzles because you're pointing them at the windshields, trying to get your windows defrosted.
Yeah.
Because you got a full enclosure, so your sight is really limited when you're
right.
And when it gets, it doesn't get unbearably cold down here. I mean, we're getting kind of record colds right now. I mean, I got up this morning and it was 21 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's Ohio. It's like that, but it's not supposed to be that cold here in Alabama.
Yeah, it's 20-something this morning.
And I've gotten acclimated to the Alabama heat and stuff like that. So I'm used to wearing shorts almost all the time, and now I've got to have breeches on, and then
you don't got spoiled
on. I got hoodies on and toboggan on, and
You don't miss that cold weather up north, do you?
I don't miss the cold weather. Yeah, when you start getting older, it hurts. So.
Here's a question for you. It says, Doc, how do you mount that heater in a Holiday Starcraft up in the bow? Or asking, would you put it up in the bow? I'm not sure if you've done any.
We have not done a Starcraft yet. Most everything that we've been putting in is either a Sea Arc. Most of them are Dynasties. We've done a couple of the 240s. The G3s, usually there's a panel under the console that if you open it up, there's a big open space in there where either the fuel tank is located or fuse blocks are located, especially on the driver's side. So, and we always put the heater is almost always on the passenger side.
Gotcha. Yeah, get it away from, Gotcha. I can see that.
This is Justin Frick says that the best one is a Bluetooth exhaust. Really nice setup. Inside, no leaks. The bottom exhaust one's 10.
Illegal. Yeah. Okay.
You got to really get the clamps down hard on them things. It's hard to mash that stainless steel, but that's why sometimes we'll use the clamps. We don't use the clamps that come with it because they're cheap. I mean, once you lock them down, they'll pull off. And you don't want leaks.
Yeah.
Right.
This is Brian here says that his is a 1972 Holiday Starcraft.
Ooh. Okay.
Is that Brian Stryker?
Yeah.
Yep. So he just got his Bimmy and all that on there. So I don't know how long it's going to be. He'll be bringing it down here for me and Terry to put a heater in. We'll figure it out.
I need to find a way to put an air conditioner in the boat. That's what I need to do. I'm going to use that way more than a heater.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah, I use air conditioners so a lot. So
Get one of
we use
the
misting during the summertime. We use the misting fans down here that you stick on top of a 5-bucket gallon of ice and just kind of blow it back on you, you know. Or on my boat, I have the generator. I'll put it up front, and I've got those Harbor Freight squirrel fans. Put 2 of them on the back and blow it right into you, and I mean it keeps you nice and cool. The biggest thing,
bugs away from you. Yeah.
Oh, the bugs are terrible down here. That's one nice part about when it gets cold down here, the bugs go away.
Yeah,
you don't have to deal with the bugs.
Oh yeah, way to go. James wants to know, how about a Hughes Craft hardtop? You think we could put one in there?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh yeah.
But there are plans out there for basically a homemade air conditioner. You make it out of an ice chest.
Yeah.
And it works. Believe it or not, my father-in-law made one a couple of years ago to put in the back seat of his little Cessna plane that he had.
Right.
And it works pretty good.
You know, and I've got my generator that I keep my generator on my boat a lot. You know, because if I'm anchoring up, if I'm using trolling motor anchor up in swift water, I got lithium batteries. But if you're sitting there and that trolling motor's running 7 and 8 all day long, you know, it's going to start taking them down. So you just plug the generator in, and I've got everything pre-ran, and all I got to just do is start plugging stuff in.
Plug it in. Yep.
I've got the extreme bait tank on board the boat, so it's got a pump that's sitting there running all the time. And if I've got fish in the live well, and most of the time, you know, even if I catch a big fish, you know, I've got oxygen on board the boat, and if I'm out there pleasure fishing and I bust a big fish, I put him in the live well. I turn the oxygen on. I get him so he's really in good shape, and he's ready to rip my hand off when I reach down to pick him up out of that thing. You know, and I've got gloves. I've got the boga grips. Well, I don't have the boga grips, but I've got the knockoff boga grips. But most of the time, I like a glove. I use those mechanic gloves that you see.
Ones I use. Yep.
You've got the rubber stuff on top. They're perfect because when that blue bites down on the top of your hand trying to crush it, that is just the gloves are made for impact.
Impact gloves, that's right.
They'll protect the top part of your hand right here, which, you know, it's never this part of your hand that gets tore up. It's always your fingers and the top part of your hand. Yeah. You know, and the water, you know, and you get it opened up and then you get an infection in there, it's bad news. Bad news. So that's why I'm always, you know, and the gloves allow you to get control of that fish, you know, and I don't like to pick up a fish by the lower jaw and just kind of, you know, I'm supporting them and getting my arms under their bellies and stuff like that. Just because, you know, I'm using that jaw as a leverage. And the only time, you know, I'm really letting them go is the one thing that I do different on the bigger fish, once I get them acclimated out of the live well, I don't hold them by the jaw and then over the side. What I do is I literally launch them head first into the water. The very first thing that they do is they'll open their mouth. As soon as they open the mouth, they hit that water, that rush of water blows right through their gills and just opens them up. And usually they are cooking like crazy away from the boat. So
I've seen a lot of people doing that, and I've had, you know, conflicting feelings about it, like whether that was harmful to the fish to torpedo them back into the water.
I've been doing it for a while. I noticed,
I notice when I do that and I kind of launch them like that, they just take off like a bullet. A lot of times, if you put them down in the water and you got them held by your hand, and then they kind of ease on back, and sometimes they'll kind of they just don't take off. When a fish takes off like a F-16, he's in good shape.
Yeah.
When you pour the oxygen to him anyway, it's going to be, that's going to make him even more.
We got Pat in here, fishes a lot of saltwater, and he says that's what they do what they have to do to the saltwater fish. And what's his name here? Steve Brian.
Brian. Jeez, how long have you boys been mechanical engineers and fishermen?
That's what we got. When you're a cat fisherman, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. I love it.
You got to multitask.
We're doing 100%. Is that Justin?
No, that's Steve Buren.
Yeah, Steve Buren, my buddy Steve. Yeah.
He also said that. He said I do it on every fish that's big and never had a floater doing it that way.
Yeah.
He said that he's putting an AC in his boat this summer.
Yeah,
just so he can keep the enclosure on and keep the bugs out.
Yeah, the bugs they weren't as bad this year. My first year down here, we had the black shell bugs. They were bad. I mean, you just heard them, and you just get covered head to toe. I had to go to the mesh nets that you got to put, or you can't breathe. And then sometimes, I don't mind the bugs crawling all over, but my lab, she couldn't handle it. I'd see her start to sneeze, and she'd have all them bugs, and I'd say, "Oh, this is."
You guys got lots of different bugs. The mayflies is bad enough, but then you guys got all these other weird bugs.
Mayflies were terrible this year. We had mayflies from February until
February.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden they just showed up. I said, "What are these guys doing here?"
Yeah.
But it was last year. This year it was warm in February. It was nice and warm. It was in the 50s and 60s in February. But mayflies, once the mayflies came in here, and they were big. Mayflies were butterflies, huge.
Yep. We've got those, and starting in the spring up until basically now, we got mosquitoes so big they got tail numbers.
Yeah, tail numbers. Yeah, number rudders.
Jesus, they're big.
Night, Missy.
The mosquitoes weren't too bad here this year, but boy, the mayflies were just they were terrible. I mean, when you see 100 a football field mat of dead mayflies floating down the river, it's bad.
Yeah.
When you're dragging up the channel and you see nothing but it's just like brown dead grass, and they're not just on the surface, they're 3 to 4 inches below the surface. Just and you look over and your boards, instead of working out, are all just kind of mucked up, and you got these things all over them. It's like, we have the grass real bad on Tennessee River here when there's current, and it gets on those boards. That's the one nice part about having the solid clips on the board is you can grab it and rip it back about three or four times, and it come off. So.
Yeah.
Mayflies are just nighttime summer butterflies, says Jody.
Yeah. So
Justin says when you run about 50 and it slows you down to 30 going through them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they're getting smashed all over the windshields and stuff like that. So
I think you clicked.
I love it down here. Just the fact that at any time, you could catch a state record down here. These waters are pressured pretty heavy by cat fishermen and by
bass fishermen. We see a lot of bass fishermen. You know, I see Mike Iconelli all the time.
Really?
I talk to him a lot. You know, he'll come up and ask me, well, you know, I'll be out there and he'll holler at me and say, you know, are there any other trees? You know, that's one of the guys I learned a lot from, you know, is he gathers, he wins tournaments because he gathers information.
Yeah. A lot of research. Yeah.
Yeah. He does a lot of research, and he's a cool guy. You know, some people don't like him. I respect the man. You know, he's a heck of a fisherman. So, but yeah, I see him a lot down here. He'll be out here pre-fishing. He'll be below Wheeler, and you know, he'll ask me. He say, "You see any smallmouth?" You know, because I see bass fishermen every day.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so.
Yeah. Let's see. People still talking about the bugs. Yeah, it's crazy. I'll be chasing bass tomorrow. Oh boy, that's always chasing something, man. He's catching anything from freshwater giant catfish to giant grouper.
Yeah. So, there's somebody said they were so thick they showed up on the weather radar. Like
It was talking down in New Orleans. Those big the mosquitoes move in big swarms down here. They're not just scattered, and if you're wide open, you run through them. Like you'll run through a big mass of them. It's insane. I think some of them guys that come down here after that tournament and heard all about it, they found out about the bugs down here. It ain't no joke. They found out about a lot of things.
And you get out at night and you hear that, and he said, "What is that sound?" And then you get covered up.
Ours sound like B-17s when they fly. It's like, what is that? Is that a buzzard? Nope. Mosquito.
Yeah, the only thing they don't have is lights on them.
Yeah,
as many as big as they are.
Yeah. See, down around New Orleans, you get both kinds. You get those little black ones that hang around like the coast and the saltwater and stuff, and you get those big brown ones like we have up here.
This year we had the white. It's like a white-looking gnat.
Mm-hmm.
They were real thick. The only bad part about it is they bite. They land on you and they start biting you. So,
yep.
And that's another thing why I use the blowers. You know, they don't like the wind and it pushes them away.
I've heard of these type of scenarios playing out down there in that area. I'm determined to get down there and get in on some of this.
That is a very specific situation that's caused by that saltwater wedge when the river's really low, like it was at a certain. If you catch it,
water pushes up into the river.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Now the Corps did put that that berm down around Pilot Town somewhere that was supposed to reduce some of that. But that saltwater wedge causes some very interesting things to happen because we fight it right here in the Atchafalaya too. You know, same thing. Yeah. It changes a lot of things, and if you don't know what's going on, it'll kind of make you rethink everything you think you know about catching the catfish because it's just it's something that nobody encounters unless you're from this area.
Go lay down. Go lay down. Go.
It's a pretty crazy thing.
Well, Doc. We've been at it almost 2 hours.
Oh Lord!
This is like my favorite. You know,
I know. Hey, I know how well all of us are. You know, we could sit here and do this till sun comes up, really. But
But
I know that Jeremy's got to get up early, and I got to get up early.
Yeah, I don't. I get up at 7 o'clock. Go eat breakfast with my Vietnam veterans every day. I hang out with them, and then usually I get started on the river. Well, in the wintertime, you know, I'll get on the water about 9, maybe 10, maybe 11 o'clock. Or, you know, just once it warms up. Fudd and Jeff went for a walk today. I walked them guys for 4 miles. They're not used to hanging with the old man.
So they found out that, I lost a bunch of weight. So, and I did it walking. So not a natural thing for me. So, but before I go, let me bring Doc's tip here on your channel tonight.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So here's my tip. Wintertime, don't use the auto-inflated life vest.
Life vest.
Use a regular life vest. Use your dead man switch, the cable that hooks up to you on the unit. Because if you go down in the cold weather, it is going to get bad.
Yep.
There's
You don't have much time.
I'm talking, that's personal experience coming from me. None of us, you don't want your time to, we all know that our hourglass is going to run out of sand at some point. I don't want to do it on a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wear the life jackets. Anybody that fishes with me, Roger knows that I do not take my life jacket off. I wear it from the time, as soon as I get, open the back door of the truck, I reach right in and I put my life jacket on. And people, they'll make, you're in the parking lot. Why are you wearing it? Well, if I go launch a boat and I slip and fall while I'm launching the boat, I've got the life jacket already on. Chris Souders, I remember him telling me that he slipped and fell and knocked himself out. And a couple of fishermen rescued him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm really big on wearing life jackets all the time. Use that dead man switch that's on there. So Fricky, he rescued a couple of guys that were on that Pickwick on thing. I'm big on, a lot of people, you got a big boat, but things can happen in a flash.
Yeah.
Real quick. So
there's Steve
on wearing a life jacket in the wintertime. The one reason I just don't use the automatics, the big ones, they'll keep your chest good and warm. And stuff like that. It gives you, if it's cold, it gives you a place to put your hands, so you keep your hands good and warm. Because of the way they're made, and they all got a D-ring on them, so all you have to do is reach down there and clip them. The only problem that I have now, I don't have much of a problem, was when I was anchoring, I would forget that it was in there, and the motor
you'd walk away with it.
Walk away, and it would pop, and it'd kill the motor. Yep. So, and below a dam, that's not a good thing. You don't want to be pulling out, reaching down there, pulling that out, and and keep a spare. One of the little clips, those things. I've got two in my boat. I've got the one that's on the lanyard, and then I've got another one right on my key. Actually, on my key, because they're kind of unique. They look like a little C clip. That some of them. You go into something, some of them go under a switch. Mine are on a knob that you pull out. It's got a groove in it, and you slide it in there.
Yeah, that's how mine is.
But that's Doc's tip for the day.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Good advice.
There you go.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time that you're giving. Everybody, thanks for coming and visiting. It's great seeing everybody.
Yeah.
I miss doing this, but I'm glad I only have to do it every now and then.
There you go.
The rest of the time, I'm out there fishing.
Well, you tell Sarah we really appreciate her sharing you tonight with us.
All right, I'll let her know.
We've had a good time. So, guys, we'll see you back here next Tuesday night. Same cat time, same cat channel. Good night, y'all.
Won't fish